I welcome you all. Today special session on a US clinical rotation. All right. If you want to know about the changes in match, the new changes in USMLE, we have our YouTube channel where I have conducted a short video explaining about the changes in USMLE examination and impact on the IMGs. So we are in an intermediate phase. Majority of things which I will be discussing is the pre-corona world. What's going to happen in post-corona world? It's anybody's guess. But yes, I will try to demystify based on the scenario so far for so many years. All right, and post-corona, of course, nobody knows what's happening, and don't worry. So we will discuss a lot of stuff today. Great. So what are we going to learn today? Okay, lot of stuff. First of all, what are the types of US clinical experiences and terminologies used and certain variations with what we call it in India and the US? We're going to understand the objective of rotation. As an IMG, what should be my ultimate aim to achieve from a rotation? All right. Search for rotation. How does one search? I got a lot of questions in the comment box that we would want to search and how do I get a rotation. So we'll be discussing this much in detail. We're going to talk about the timelines, when to apply, how to apply each and every small little thing. Okay, we're going to understand about the documents required for rotations. So whatever are the documents which you will be guys will be requiring in order to apply, and how to arrange them, all of these things. And finally, of course, visa, what are the kind of visa required, and things, stuff like that. And last but not the least, again, I feel it's very important, what not to fall for. That's the category I call what not to fall for. There are, I mean, scam is a big word, but yeah, it is kind of a scam. So what kind of issues, or how IMGs who are vulnerable, how unfortunately group of people are targeting them. So this is exactly the idea of the session today. All right, completely giving you a ballpark figure of the entire journey which an IMG undergoes in order to find a clinical rotation, and what is the procedure to finally achieve this. All right, great. So now let's talk about the first objective. What are the types of USCE? Okay, let's discuss that quickly. All right, so first let's talk about the types of USCE which are available. All right, so broadly, okay, what I define from the student who is an IMG from an India perspective. Okay, I am just assuming that okay, you are a med school student from India or you are an IMG. Okay, so what are the definitions for you? Okay, so whatever you do as a final year in your med school, you term it as internship year. Am I correct? So the final year of med school is what you call as internship year. Okay, and whatever you do outside your med school, the clinical rotations which you do outside your med school, those are termed as externships. Clinical rotations which you do in your med schools are internship. Clinical rotations which you do outside your med schools are termed as externships. That is a simple and fair understanding. Now, when you say externships, these are again of two types. An option where you are allowed to touch a patient or directly interact with him, go through his patient file, is hands-on clinical rotation. All right, an option where a senior doctor is the one who interacts with the patient, you just observe him doing the things, are shadow rotations. All right, so clinical rotations, there are two types which you do in your med school. You term it as internship. Outside your med school is externships. Externships again of two types, hands-on and shadow. Now, further on, these hands-on experience again are of two types. All right. If you are a student, you are a medical school student or an intern, and if you get to rotate in universities and do hands-on, these are elective programs. Okay. Electives are options which are available with students who are still in the medical school. Those who are graduates can no longer do electives. They have to do something called as clerkships. Okay. So if I am an IMG, my opportunity for electives is much more higher than the clerkships. Mind you, this is very important for you to understand. I have more chances and probability to get an elective hands-on compared to clerkships. Okay. If I am a graduate, okay, now let's understand this very clearly. If I am a graduate or I am in grade 1 to, let's say, final third year or fourth year, okay, basically when you are in med school and if you still want to do rotations, these are shadow rotations which you can do in medical colleges. These are called as observerships posting. Please understand that if you are a graduate and in your med school but not in final year, you are only allowed to do observers posting. Okay, please understand it very clearly. If you are in the final year, in India the final year is termed as internship year, you are allowed to do the elective programs. And if you want to do hands on but you are a graduate, you can do clerkships. Now clerkships are available with very few hospitals, but these are usually private hospitals. Also to note that there is another category of rotations called as research. Okay, research is a completely alug category. That's why I mentioned it separately. These are research electives. Depending on your interest, people get it for 4 weeks, 12 weeks, 6 months, 1 year, depending on your interest. These cannot be categorized as clinical rotation. That's why I have written it separately. All right. One more thing, a lot of times students, when you guys do research, you get confused. Okay, in terms of when you are searching of stuff. The same internship, okay, when you are checking from the US point of view, okay, do not mix up and confuse with the internship what you do in India. Okay, in India the internship what you do is a final year med school ka time, but in US the first year of PGY1 is also called as internship. Okay, so don't confuse, these are two different things. Okay, PGY1 is also called as internship year in America. Okay, so do not confuse that with the internship option what you do here in India. I hope this is clear. Again, on this particular slide, if there are any questions, please ask me. I'm going to answer all the questions. All right, so now I already have a first question from Red. Can interns do elective or is it only final year? No, Red, interns can definitely do electives. Please understand the difference. What happens is if you are still a student who doesn't have a degree, see, there are two category of students in India. Okay, when I talk about India, one category is who is studying in MBBS in India itself. So in India, the rule is unless you do internship, you are not granted the degree. So if you are an intern, okay, considering that you haven't got your degree, no problem, you are allowed for electives. Okay. However, there are a lot of foreign medical graduates in India. Those who have done MBBS from Russia, China, Ukraine, they are already graduates. Okay, the only thing they do in India is compulsory internship from the MCI perspective. In which case, you guys are not allowed for electives. You can only do clerkships. I hope this is clear. Okay. So as an intern in India, internship is as good as final year, because believe me, in final year in your curriculum, no college will allow you to travel to US. Okay. Also, please note that whichever college you are from doesn't matter. Okay. Please understand this very clearly. If you are supposed to do 12 months of internship, unless your college has a partnership, in spite of that, the MCI regulation states very clearly that if you are spending 3 months for electives in America, you do not get a waiver. Okay, you do not get a waiver of those 3 months. You still have to repeat. So your actual internship becomes 12 plus another 3 months which you spent in America. I hope this is clear. And this is okay for an international student who is aiming for USMLE. It is perfectly fine. But please understand this clearly. There are a lot of questions and I am going to answer all of them. Don't worry. I am clarifying each and every question. So Red had asked, can interns do elective? Yes, absolutely. What I have mentioned till final year, what I mean in India, okay, when students are in first year, second year, third year, or third, second, okay, while they are doing academic studies, or they are graduates, and if they are aspiring to do something in universities, only thing they are allowed is shadow or observerships. Please understand this. Once you become graduates, universities do not allow you for hands-on experience. All right. Now the next question I have, suppose we do get clerkship, is it less valuable on a CV than elective? No, Rushabh, absolutely not. Clerkship is also a good option, but where you are doing from clerkships, where you are doing clerkship from, that matters. All right. Clerkships also has a weightage as long as it is done from an ACGME approved hospital, a teaching hospital, or a brand which is well known, not some private clinics. Mind you, this is very important. I am going to talk about a lot of do's and don'ts. Okay. Given an opportunity, Rushabh, if you are a medical student in India, your best bet is to do electives. Okay. So do not graduate. Ensure you get your electives done, because finding clerkships is far more difficult. Graduates in India are far more prone to the scams which are happening in US. In desperation, people, join a particular course and then they realize that these were not genuine rotations. I will be discussing them at the end. Okay. But mind you, if you are doing it from a decent teaching hospital, perfectly fine. Okay. So don't worry about that. Arjun Kumar says, so for graduates, clerkships and observerships are available. Correct. So clerkships happen in hospitals, wherein observerships you will be doing in the universities. All right. Next question I have is from Vernon Prajapati. How to get electives? Well, Vernon, I will come to that. In the next few slides, I will explain you everything. Sanket is saying PGY1, does it mean residency year one? Yes, absolutely. Okay. Why I mentioned and gave a clarification is just so that if you Google and suddenly you see, PGY1 intern mentioned, don't get confused. That is residency ka first year. What you call as an internship in India is something different, and what they call in America as a internship is different. All right, so don't confuse. Yeah, correct, Arpit. So electives are open in India for interns, because in India internship is the final year. Shubham is asking, I'm an intern. What do I do according to the current situation? See, that's what I'm saying. Guys, please first understand what is the procedure. Right now, what's happening is an extremely different situation. Okay, so Corona is a completely exception and a different variable. Nobody is going for elective this year. Believe me, nobody is going. I will prove you with the official links. All the universities have made it clear you will be allowed from 2021 January only. So don't be in a desperate move to find some options this year. Okay. I'm going to discuss about what you can do this year separately, but please understand right now, first the theory part of it, then we will be speaking much in detail. All right. So now I have a very interesting question from Vaibhav Jain. Are research electives equally valuable as electives? No. So what happens is research electives are offered by mostly universities and certain research institutions like the NIH. What happens is these are very short electives for 1 month, 2 months, okay, or they are extremely long, like 6 months or a year period, okay. So if it is a 1 month or a 2 month research, it is not going to help you. So let's quickly understand what I'm trying to tell you, okay. So what happens is research elective in America are of two types. One is a 1 month, 2 month wala option. Second is either 6 months or a 12 months or a 24-month kind of a thing. So what is happening when you are a final year student who is searching for rotation, suddenly you see, oh my God, NHS is also offering a 1 month, let me apply there. Don't do that. Research elective for 1 or 2 months does not carry any weightage. Why? Because the idea of joining a research elective program is that ultimately you develop a joint interest with your program guide and decide on doing the proper research with proper variables and ultimately lead them to a publication. So research electives, even if you are a graduate, you could get it, okay. These are for 6 months, 12 months or 24 months. So what I'm trying to tell you, if you are interested in research, consider longer options, okay. Do not consider the shorter options. I hope this is clear. Again, any questions, feel free to ask. Okay, interesting question from Ishan. If we delay our internship, will they ask? Absolutely no problem, Ishan. I mean, it's a very normal thing. I have thousands of students in past who have delayed their internship. As long as in that period between you are, managing your steps or, the possible examination, whether it is step 1 CK, step 3 if you've already done your CS. Okay, so as long as you are justifying with that, absolutely no problem. Delaying internship is not an issue. Okay, I hope this is clear. Siddharth, any advantage of elective over clerkship? See, Siddharth, what happens is because electives happen in academic institutions, of course, the letter of recommendations which you get, will be from an academic institutions. So that's absolutely an advantage. But mind you, again, understand, if you are a graduate, you don't have option, all right. But if you are a student, yes, my first bet, I told you, if I'm a student, my first opportunity will be to do electives, all right. Correct, Arpit, absolutely. I will discuss that, Asra, when to go for rotations. I will come to that slide. All right, so again, an interesting question. Arman is asking, what is sub internship? Okay, the reason I have not mentioned here is not to confuse you guys, okay. So sub internship is also one form of elective. This is in fact the best form of elective. So what happens is when you go for electives, there are core rotations which you can apply to. There are sub internships you can apply to. Okay. Sub internships are usually in the specialized field, and usually they are the best form of elective because they have much more weightage. For example, in cardiology, example, all right. But mind you, your next part of the question, that do IMGs get into it, that depends on the college. Not every college keep the sub internships open for IMGs, all right. So depending on the medical colleges, you can select, okay. But both core rotations and sub internships are hands on itself. Okay, I hope this is clear to you, Arman. It was a good question, by the way. Yes, Anisha, if you're a graduate, you are not allowed into electives. All right, you are only allowed to do an observer's posting in a hospital. Are clerkships expensive than electives? That depends. Venkat, it depends on the institutions. All right. clerkships or electives, because for example electives, if you do it from Ivy League, are very expensive. If you talk about Stanford, Harvard, Yale, okay, so it depends where you are doing electives. So again, in the next few slides you will have that clarity also, don't worry. How can we apply for observerships? I will show that, don't worry, Duel. In the next few slides, how to do about, the procedure, we'll be discussing it. Yeah, good question by Gauri. Why is it more difficult to get clerkships? Gauri, when I will show you the search, you will realize what happens is electives are predefined. There are specific search engines where you can apply for electives. But when it comes to clerkships, you have to try universally. It's not one fixed place, which is why it's difficult. Yes, absolutely. So SG is asking, can we get a longer elective research electives after graduation? Yes, absolutely. Now it has a disadvantage and advantage, which I will discuss at the end. Please remind me. When I will talk about visas, please remind me to talk about the research electives. All right. I will be answering that at that point of time. That will have a complete clarity. All right. Okay. What does delaying internship mean? All right. So now that's not an official thing, Bilal. But what happens is, in the Indian subcontinent, people realize to do USMLE very late. Okay, I'm happy, thanks to the awareness campaign which MOOCs does. Now people are joining for USMLE preparations as early as first year, but that was not the traditional case earlier. So what was happening is that, by the time they reach internship year, then they realize that, oh, USMLE is an option for me. So, and giving the steps, preparing the profile and the entire journey, you should attend my USMLE webinar, you'll have a clarity. It takes about 2.5 years. So when you are doing that process, and at the same time you realize the importance of electives, people tend to, extend their internship can be done in India for just the 12 months, but since there is a need to be a student, in order to apply for electives, what people do is, for a couple of months or couple of days, they do not attend their med schools, and on paper they are still students, and they get an extension, and as and when they got opportunity for rotations, they fly to US, come back and complete the balance rotations. Please understand this is a very important information. Please try this at your own risk. Okay, I always tell them why, because the decision whether to allow delayed internships or to allow you to graduate a little later or with the older batch is completely on your medical school. Some medical schools are comfortable with it, some are not. Okay, so be very careful when you are trying to, work these things around. Please speak this information very clearly to your reporting HOD during internship. Elif, these specific cases I will discuss at the end, okay? Because I'll be answering. Don't worry. Correct, Bhavartini. CRRI is internship. Correct. In South India, we call it CRRI. Okay. Again, these are very specific questions. Pranali, I will be answering at the end. All right. So I have a lot of questions here. Let me, because I will definitely answer all of them. But what's happening is, let me move on with the next few slides and I will answer them as well. Because we are almost about 210 students right now. So I understand the question. So guys, believe me, I will answer all of them. Let me, proceed ahead, because a lot of questions you will have a clarity once I move the slides ahead. All right. Now let's define the objective of rotation. See what is happening. If I ask today, anybody, what is the objective of rotations, I will only get one answer. Believe me, if I do a normal poll about, what is the objective of rotations, 99% of time I get one answer. Okay, can I write it down for you guys? Because I want to write it down, because you guys understand in my list when does that come. Am I correct? If we talk about, rotations, the only thing which is there in the mind of IMGs is LOR, letter of recommendations. All right. But that's not the only thing why we are doing rotations. Yeah, exactly. So I hope you guys are getting it. So LORs is not the only reason why we are doing rotations. Let's understand step by step what is the objective of rotation. Most importantly, exposure to patients, acquiring patient care skills, and working in US hospital. See, I am talking from the career point of view, all right? Because this is a career guidance session. Believe me, I have had a student earlier in past. She was passionate about surgery. She went for a surgery rotations in Harvard, but the experience there, understanding the patient care and the exposure to patients, she realized maybe this healthcare system is not for me. Okay, so she came back and now she's successfully working in a very top hospital in India. My point, what I'm trying to tell you is that learn this thing or have this experience to also understand the American system, whether you are ready to invest your next, 10-20 years of your life in that system or not. It's a very great learning tool, all right, the elective opportunity. Improve your communication and interpersonal skills, that is to do with your colleagues, your attendings. There are opportunities where you interact with people with multiple nationalities, so it is a great learning tool, a great comfort tool, in terms of not only the basic vocabulary but also the medical terminologies which are common in an American hospital. Again, this is a very important point. Okay, your interest in your specialization, you will realize that you will also realize the fact that what are the future career opportunities. For example, if I am interested in medicine, I do a core elective in internal medicine, I do a sub internship in cardiology, I do a sub internship in gastro. What happens is I interact with, you know gastroenterology specialist in 1 month. In second month, I will interact with cardio specialist. I will actually come to know what's happening in the industry, what are the common cases which I see in case of cardiology, in case of gastro. That makes me do well in terms of my career research, that what will be my game plan in future, after medicine, how will I transit. Those kind of informations you realize here. All right. Okay, Isha has a question. What is IMG? I'm sorry, Isha, I didn't clarify. IMG is International Medical Graduates. When all of you who are studying in med school outside US, when you guys apply, you guys are termed as IMGs. All right. I'm sorry, didn't clarify earlier. All right. Learning about clinical practice, electronic records, hospital administration. What happens is it's not just the soft skills. These are very basic. You might feel, just admin related stuff, but it is important. Okay, because this basic sense of knowledge, if you gain it, it helps you, better accommodate once you are in the system later. All right, very very important. Okay, I will maybe, mark about 3 to 4 stars. I have hundreds of stories to talk about on this point, how one thing lead to another and how people got opportunities, amazing opportunities, just because of networking which they developed during rotations. You won't believe, there are so many stories, just unbelievable stories, which we have. So networking is highly important. From day one of your med school, you should be highly disciplined. You should understand that person whom you're working under, the attendee will observe you, watch you. Okay, so please ensure you are with your highest level of discipline, commitment, and also be very curious. For some reason, I have seen a lot of IMGs, they just don't speak during rotations, absolutely quiet. Okay, and the last day of the rotation, suddenly they, approach the program director asking for a letter of recommendation. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. If you are expecting an LOR, I mean, imagine how will somebody talk about you when he doesn't know you? I mean, imagine yourself. If I ask, you are studying in a med school, you are about 100, in your classroom. If I ask about a person X, okay, how is she or how is he? And if you have never spoken to that person, you will have no opinion, right? How can you vouch that, okay, you know what, he's a great person just because he's in my class? No, it doesn't work like that. That's how it is with rotations also. You need to be very much clear, very much interactive. Don't be too pushy. There's a decent level of interaction which you do. Discuss your career plans. That is what they appreciate, right? Of course, this is very important. A lot of IMGs do the mistake of appearing the CS randomly without planning the electives. Your rotations are the precursor to your CS examinations. So if you are understanding the terminologies, if you are understanding the patient care skills, if you are understanding the electronic records and the basic admin work, by default, you will be doing well in your CS exam. I hope this is clear. So if you understand, after all of these, the last thing is the clinical rotation. I hope you guys are able to understand how important the LORs are. They are definitely, that's the end objective, but you cannot expect that from day one. All right. Please understand this. Your objective of doing a rotation needs to be clear to one and all. Am I making sense? All right. Vidhi is asking for a story of a student and how it helped with network. Okay, let me give you one example. Since we are talking about it, let me give you one example. So what happened is, there was a student who came to interact with me in the final 1 month of internship. All right, that is when he realized the USMLE opportunity. We decided that he should take a break from his internship, start preparing for USMLE. He extended his internship and gave his step 1. Once he appeared for step 1, he got opportunity to do rotations. Okay, he did it from a very good hospital in North Carolina. All right. After which he decided to come back, complete his rotation. The next time he applied for a clerkship. All right. So the clerkship which he applied in a osteopathic medical school. It was not an allopathic, but it was an osteopathic med school in the East Coast. What happened is, while he was rotating at that osteopathic med school in East Coast, one of the program director really liked his work. So that person, called him separately and approached him for a clinical trial research opportunity. So that person was part of a polyclinic where they were running clinical trial research. He got this opportunity. He joined them immediately, started working on clinical trial. Now, since the project, which was, headed by a couple of physicians, again in another city for clinical trial, one of the person there was actually a program director of a med school in New York. He actually observed his work for the next few months. He actually liked him. So during the match, he arranged for a special interview. Everything went well and he got matched. So what I'm trying to tell you is that his rotations gave him opportunity to do research. The research gave him an interview call and finally cracked it. Okay. So what happens, Shiroshi, in America, there are allopathy and there are osteopathy, two types of med schools, MD and DO graduates. So earlier, DO and MD was not considered equal, but recently, a lot of med schools in America started accepting even the DO graduates for residency. Okay, they more focus on the bone side of studies. All right. So this is an alternative form, like we have MBBS and allopathy, Ayurveda, and those kind of things. So in US it is MD and DO. All right. So now let's talk about the search for rotations. Okay, this is very important. How do you search rotations? Okay, is there any secret, where you find people saying, "Oh, you come to me only then you get rotations"? How do you search rotations? And now let's actually practically show you. Okay, since 88% of you said you guys are students, the first best link for student is this. Okay, let me click on this link and show it to you. So if you are a student, okay, the best link to search rotations is something called as online extramural elective compendium. This is a search engine developed by the AAMC, American Association of Medical Colleges. All right, so all you do is you select by institution, state, geographic region, and you select the universities. All right, so you select states. Can you see this? If you select states, schools that accept international students for electives, click on that. Schools that accept international students for electives, put a search button, and you will be able to find school application fee, without application fee. The list is there with you. Okay, and from there on, you can search individual websites and find the forms and stuff like that. So the best particular link, okay, is the AAMC online extramural elective compendium. That is the best option which is available with everyone to search for electives. Okay, all right, what is the second link? Okay, second link is something a little privileged because that is not applicable for every medical student. All right, so the second link is something called as VSLO. Of late, recently, lot of international medical graduates have started partnering with American hospitals. I saw a message by one of the students at my college has partnered with so and so institution. Yes, it happens. With the advent and announcement of VSLO, it is happening. Okay, so if you are from this colleges, you can. If not, you can recommend your college to become a part of this. So in India, currently there are not many institutions, but there are few who are listed. So you have Apollo, you have JJM, JSS, Malareddy, Manipal, and Sri Ramachandra. So what happens is they have their own partner hospitals with which they can do the rotation. So if you are from one of these colleges, you can approach your college and identify what are the partner hospitals, and once you know that, you can make an application via VSLO itself. It is called as visiting student learning opportunities. So this is a privileged thing which not every student has it. All right, so if your college is not part of the list, you might want to recommend. Actually, there's some fee attached. So some colleges are fine with that, some colleges are not. So if your college wants to be part of that, you will have to contact these people, and they send a lot of forms and stuff, and some fee which is attached. If they pay, if your college participates, then you guys get access to this network of American hospitals. All right, so these are the two best options which you can consider. What we have done on our website, so that you have a clarity, we have just uh, on a very simplified manner have mentioned hospitals which are available with step 1, without step 1. So the website is mook16.com. In that, if you go to clinical electives, we have also put up all the information, so which you guys can refer it and utilize it as per your convenience. All right, so somebody was asking, right? So clinical electives that require step 1, that do not require step 1, free rotations with paid rotations you'll get here. So typically, if you see, it's if you haven't given step 1 up till internship year, usually you have to pay fees for the rotations. All right, Mount Sinai, Cornell, Kansas, FIU, Harvard, Stanford, UAB. These are the hospitals which offer you clinical rotations. All right, can you see this? There is an option called NIH. But as I told all you guys, this is a research elective. So doing 1 or 2 months there is actually not going to help you much. Okay. So NIH option can be good if you are looking for a long-term research, otherwise not worth it. So without rotations, you can apply it. Without step one, you can apply to these places. Of course, this list keeps on updating. So, as and when available, you can just check on your own and find out. With step one, of course, you have an advantage. So let me first quickly have a run a poll also so that we are all aware. Okay, quickly, guys, if you can answer this. Have you guys have appeared step one or not? How many of you have given the step one so far? Guys, quickly, because we will have an idea accordingly. We'll work things around. Arjun Kumar and Arjun Gorti. Yes, it is correct. These are the options for students. Okay, for graduates, as I told you, it's a universal list. I will come to that after this. I am going to show you how a graduate searches. So for graduates, it's a longer procedure. Okay. Bavartini, you are a CRRI, which means you are an intern. Okay. So whatever options I have discussed, these are the same options with you. Okay. What I am discussing right now, that if you are a CRRI, but whether you have step one or not, that's the question. I see the poll, 85% of you have not given step one. Okay. I hope you are able to understand the question. Bavartini, let me quickly show you, okay, what we were trying to explain. So what happens is, if you are a CRRI, okay, in South India they call it CRRI, in other place they call it internship here. So if you are an intern and by the time you reach internship, what I was asking, whether you have given step one or you haven't. People who have given step one, they get free rotations. They don't pay tuition fees. And people who haven't given step one have to give the TOEFL examination. And then they pay the paid rotation, which I showed you in the other slides. So we have 15% of the people in out of these 159 students right now who have given their step one. So you guys can get rotations in Cleveland Clinic, in Mayo Clinic, in Sloan Kettering. In fact, let me tell those who are aspiring to do oncology, if you get an elective in Sloan Kettering, it is the top-notch hospital in the US. Lot of our Indian, VVIPs and celebrities, who have had cancer issues in past actually get treated here. Case Western. So you can try for these rotations, and which is why I'm saying if you give step one in your third year or in the start of your internship, you are entitled to these free rotations. And these are important not only from the perspective that they are free, but the fact is, without step one, you have Harvard, Cornell, all of these Ivy Leagues, which are not much IMG friendly later on. But Cleveland Clinic, IMG friendly, Emory, Mayo, Case Western. So later on, there is a probability that you can match in that program also. I hope you are able to understand that. Okay. The only one without step one, and which is a very IMG friendly hospital and which I strongly recommend, is the Mount Sinai Hospital. All right. Arjun mentioned that what if I am a graduate? Okay, if you are a graduate, there are a couple of things which you can do. One is there are placement agencies who help you with rotations. You can approach them, which I will not recommend personally, and I will show you at the end what is the problem. And second option is you have to go to the global engine of AMA FRIDA. That's the global search engine. And depending on your specialization, let's say you are interested in OBGY, example, then on this website, you will find the entire list of OBGY residence hospitals. So you click on that list and individually write emails to each and every hospital, and depending on your, efforts and the requirement there, you might get reply. So what I'm trying to tell you, as a graduate, there are no structured program. Observerships are structured, but hands-on are not structured. Okay, you will have to write it to multiple hospitals, which is why challenge. I hope you are able to understand that. Perfect. So now you guys were asking about the timeline. Let's talk about the timelines. All right. Define the timeline. So whichever year of med school I am in, let me define the timeline for you. What is an ideal scenario? Ideal scenario is to appear step one in third year or the first few months of internship. All right. This gives me opportunity to apply for more number of rotations. My probability of getting rotation increases because I can, in which case I can apply to the hospitals which offers rotations with or without step one. Second, appear TOEFL mid of final year, because what happens is along with step one, med schools expect the TOEFL examination. Some would waive it if your language of instruction is English, but not all waive it. And they have a specific requirement that out of 30 in reading, writing, listening, speaking, some expect 22 and above, some expect 25 and above in speaking section. So TOEFL is important, and which you should appear mid of final year so that you have that 6 month of buffer time to apply. Always give the 3 month choice of slot. When you are filling up the form, they give you choice. So don't be rigid. I want the rotation only in March. Because usually when you fill up the form, you'll realize they give you 3 month option. So you should mention, okay, if I get it in March, great. Otherwise, April and May, I am fine. Because believe me, this will happen. Every month there are limited slots across the US for rotations, but there are only 3 to 4,000, more than 3 to 4,000 IMGs applying for the seats. So it's very competitive. So not necessary people get it in the first month of their choice only, right? Then of course apply 6 to 8 months in advance. Very important. There is no other solution than this. That is why I always say plan things in advance, because it is actually a first come first serve basis. There is no logic. Please understand, maximum universities admission is on first come first serve basis. Please understand this very clearly. A lot of time people use the logic, oh, you know what, my friend with a lower step one marks, but okay profile, but still got an elective, I didn't get it. There is no logic. This is not residency application. Yes, you require things to fill up in applications, but 99% of time the rotation positions are just filled based on the application timing. Please understand, the applications are also assessed in a different way. Some applications are rolling, meaning you come to know whether you got accepted or denied as and when you apply. They keep on answering you. Some let you know only 30 to 60 days before the start date. It's very important, especially with IMGs who do not have visa. Ideally, when I talk about visa, I will tell you how important it is, because sometimes people who do not have a visa and they come to know, especially I've seen in case of Harvard, you got a slot in Harvard, but only have 1 month to report, and in that shorter period of time, applying for tourist visa and going through the hassle is the challenge. All right. So things need to be planned in advance. Please understand this very, very clearly. Once accepted, please do not miss the deadline to pay tuition fees. Be very, very careful what kind of emails we are receiving from the university. I have seen sometimes people have missed on very good opportunities just because they missed out an email where the link for payment had been sent for tuition fees. Please understand this very, very clearly. Whenever you pay the tuition fee, please book your on-campus accommodation as much as possible. Let me tell you, not every hospital has this opportunity. 50% of hospitals do not have opportunity to live nearby or in university campus or in hospital you know hostels. But if you get that opportunity, nothing like it, please grab it by both hands. Please understand, rotations at times become very new or learning experience. Plus you are there for very short time, 2 to 3 months. So it's not a great time to, explore and be, getting sweated out just to find good places to live and all. Please, if you are near and on campus, there are more opportunities for networking. Please understand this. So whenever you get an opportunity, try opting for accommodations. Rachna, that you only come to know when you get a confirmation, all right? So you do not have a predefined list. For example, once you get a rotation confirmation from Harvard, so Harvard again has at least 7 to 8 different hospitals where they post for rotations. So depending on which hospital you got selected, they will let you know, okay, you know what, the elective students in, Brigham and Women, or, the Massachusetts General Hospital stay in so and so places. As and when, if there is an opportunity, they will let you know. So within the same university, some hospitals do have opportunity. Some will give you the recommended list. Okay, you know what? When students come to us for electives, they choose so and so option. I hope you are able to understand this. All right. Is TOEFL compulsory? TOEFL is required by almost, you can say, 50% of universities. 50% might waive you if you are able to, show a proof that your language of instruction in your medical college was English, but 50% will expect from you. Okay, what is TOEFL? I'm sorry, Asra, I didn't mention it earlier. I try to assume that people are aware. I'm sorry about it. So TOEFL is test of English as a foreign language. This is an English language examination which students who appear for electives might have to give, just to ensure that when you are joining them in on rotations, you can interact fluently with your attending doctors, your co-residents, and also with your patients. So they expect to know your English proficiency. All right. How much possibility is there where we get residency in the same university where we do clinical rotation? In my experience of last 15 years, it is 1 to 2% possibility, not more than that. Only 1 to 2%. Okay, that's the reality. Not really, though. TOEFL is not that great. I mean, difficult examination. You go to the website ets.org and there are free TOEFL mock tests. Easily you can appear and manage it. I mean, if you can understand what I am speaking today in the session, I don't think so you require a TOEFL training, right? It's just that the exam is online, so you just need to understand how to appear for it. The reading, writing, listening skills. Preferably, coaching would not be required. And there are a lot of Coursera has a lot of free, TOEFL training programs as well. So you might want to join them. No problem. Yeah, don't worry. Doyle will provide you. No, not an issue. If I am not able to give step 1 in the beginning of internship due to final year exam, when would be the next best time? Anytime during internship, Aishwarya, in which case you are a candidate who will have to extend your internship. It is perfectly fine to extend internship, but you should give step 1 in the internship year. And of course, Aishwarya, I am not recommending you to time your step 1 early in your internship that you will study in final year. No, final year is not a time to study for step 1. Usually when I say early of internship, I am assuming you are a student who started step 1 preparation in second year or third year. You prepared for 1 year, but for some reason could not appear, and then you were deep down into final year. So then for those students, they revise the UWorld in the first few months of internship and appear. If you are starting afresh, do not do parallel to final year, all right? It's called Coursera. It has free links for TOEFL, Coursera, and then there is another one called as ETS, the body which conducts the examination. All right. Sorry for the spell error, but Coursera and ETS. Okay. So let's move ahead. What are the documents required? Okay. See, there are a lot of questions each one of you have. Believe me, I'll answer all of them, but let me try completing all the info and then we will specifically talk about all of your questions. So generally, documents required for your application, first is of course your CV. Okay, till date, your entire CV is important. Okay, whatever you have done in your med school, you have to have a concise version prepared for it. your medical school approver or letter of good standing, please. So those who are, asking me about whether I should, extend my internship, and I did mention that your permission of med school is required. This is the reason, because you need to extend your internship, taking into confidence your med school. As long as your med school allows, only then consider, because this is a letter which you will require from your college when you apply for electives. Some colleges, as I told you, ask for USMLE score, TOEFL scores, your college medical school transcripts, application fee. Some colleges do not have an application fee, some do have. All right. Health immunization records. Again, that's an important information, or a point which you should know, be aware of. This requirements might change this year. Standard exam, tests were always your, TB and MMR, rubella, general physician checkup. This year, I'm 100% sure that corona will be one of the immunization which they might expect. All right. Health insurance, again important. This is just a normal health or travel insurance which everybody buys when you travel abroad. Malpractice insurance. Now this is very important. All right. In US, whenever you are doing something hands on, where you are allowed or exposed to patients, malpractice insurance is compulsory. Okay. So this is also one good sign to identify if a third party you have approached and they tell you, yes, we will allow you for rotations, but you need not buy malpractice. Moment they tell you that malpractice is not compulsory, in your mind you should be clear, either they are giving me posting in private clinic or they are giving me observers posting. This will never be hands-on clerkships, or they will never be electives, because malpractice is compulsory if you are facing a patient in America. Where to buy? You don't have to worry. Depending on which hospital you get selected, they have a list of providers which they are partnered with. So if you get into Harvard, Harvard will share his own list. If you get matched into some other hospital, they will let you know. Okay. Otherwise, there are standard providers. Many of them. So don't worry, we will be helping you with that as well. All right. Don't worry. You don't have to be much, bogged down with this. But the reason I'm highlighting malpractice is because for you to understand that malpractice is compulsory for a genuine elective rotations. Okay. Proof of this HIPAA, OSHA. No, these are certification, ACLS, BLS. So there are online websites, online MedCert, HIPAA.com. So usually what happens is that universities where you apply, either they give you a link to attend those courses, and those websites might ask you for $20-30 and make you do these courses, or universities themselves conduct this course on the orientation day or the first day, which is why it is very important when you get your clinical rotation, ensure you are reaching there 2 to 3 days in advance. Lot of times I have seen people reach on the nth day and they're extremely tired or jet lagged during the orientation day, and that is the day when they do all of this training. So be ensure that you are gearing up and extremely ready for your rotation. I hope this is clear to each one of you. What is medical school transcripts? So medical school transcript is just cumulative score sheets which you get it from your med school, where in one particular document they mention your grades of first year, second year, third year all together. So you have to approach your medical school and apply for, and they will give you sealed and signed, which you need to directly courier it to the university. In certain cases they have made it online so they can upload it directly to the university website. I hope this is clear. All right, now let's talk about the visa. Very important discussion. All right, majority of rotations, clinical rotations, are offered on B1 B2 tourist visa. Guys, Please hear me out very well. If there are questions, understand this clearly. Okay, but hear me out very, very well, because it's going to be important. The discussion point is very, very important. What happens is, when it comes to visa, who all are associated? You have your hospital where you have applied for rotation is associated, you as a candidate or a student, and then the visa granting authority or American embassy. All right. So it's not necessary that the policy of visa is clear with the embassy many a times. All right. So just so that you are aware, let me show you. Officially, as per the US visa guidelines, okay, you are allowed to do rotations on a B1, B2 tourist visa. Okay, you are a rotation. Let me show you that guidelines very clearly, because 90% of places, this is what happens. So if you already have a tourist visa, not a problem. But a lot of times students do not have tourist visa, and then when they apply for rotations, and when they have an admit letter and they apply for visa interviews, you know, unfortunately, okay, certain visa officers are not aware that medical students are allowed to come on a B1, B2 visa, and they reject the visa. So we always recommend that you should have a printout of this official guidelines. This is the US government website, and according to this clause, if you are a medical student, you are allowed to do rotations, which 90% of hospitals offer you on a B1, B2 visa. All right. And there are few who offer you on a student visa, F1 visa. Okay. For example, let's see for this one, Baylor. Okay, not everyone, 90% offer you on a B1, B2 visa only, but there are few who might ask you to apply for an F1 visa. Let me quickly open this link also, so that you guys have clarity. I just want to ensure that I would want to show you all possible options. No problem. Let us copy it. All right. For some reason, the link was not working. No problem. All I'm saying is that, let me come back to the previous slide. So all I'm saying is that you can do rotations on B1, B2 visa. You can do it on F1 visa. Again, now this is the standard protocol. Let me tell you the tip. Given an opportunity, you should do rotations on B1, B2 visa only, because this visa, once you get it, it's a 10-year multiple entry visa. So with this visa, later on, when you apply for interviews, when you have to travel for interviews before the match, you can utilize the same. You don't have to apply for separate visa. Problem with F1 visa is that it is very, very specific. In fact, let me show you. Yeah, the reason I decided to show you also, I will show it to you. Okay. Let me quickly open this link. I just hope it's opening. Otherwise, I will take you to the website directly. Okay. Usually, F1 visa is a student visa, and it is specific for a particular college only. Now, let us understand one very important thing. Season I told you I want to discuss today is because lot of students are not aware of these rules, and they get fooled by a lot of companies. As you can see, Baylor requires a student visa only. Okay, now let me tell you and make a big important information which lot of students are not aware. B1, B2 visa is not accepted. Baylor will not support a change of F1 visa with either of visas for visiting medical elective. If you are on United States for another purpose, you must exit United States and reapply for F1 visa. Why am I talking this point? Unfortunately, there are companies who say, do not do USMLE in India, come to us in America, we will offer you USMLE Step 1 training on F1 student visa. Do not go for these options. What they tell you, when you come on student visa, you can stay there for a longer period of time, and in between you can do clinical rotations. Please see the reality. The reason I am showing you is because you will get calls from people in Pune, people in Hyderabad. Be very, very careful with them. Moment they say doing USMLE course on F1 visa, tell them we cannot do rotations. Show them the link for Baylor. Okay? It is very important for you guys to understand. Given an opportunity, my best bet is on B1, B2 tourist visa. Okay? Because tourist visa for B1, B2 can be utilized multiple times. F1 can be utilized only, for example, if I get F1 for Baylor, I cannot do anything else. I have to come out of US, all right? Yes, Vedashri, but there are many such other colleges. Okay, that's why the best thing is to do B1, B2 visa. So moment you get calls from people in Pune or Hyderabad, be very, very careful recommending you for F1 visa programs. Be very, very careful. Go for B1, B2 visa only. Reason is very simple. It's a 10-year multiple entry visa, and with that visa I can come and go tomorrow. If I get opportunity to do some short-term research, I can do that. Tomorrow I get an opportunity to do, let's say, interviews, I can do that. After graduation I want to do clerkships, I can do that. I can do multiple things on a tourist visa, but I cannot do it on a student visa. Please understand this. This is very important. When to apply for visa? Aishwarya, I will tell you frankly, I usually recommend my students who are in first, second, and third year to apply for visa then and then, because what happens is whenever you get this visa, your thing is sorted. Okay, your thing is sorted for 10 years. It's a multiple entry visa. At a time, you can stay there for 6 months. Good, you reminded me, Nita. So now research. Okay, research again happens. Somebody was asking about research electives. So those which are lesser than 6 months of time, they can be done on B1, B2 visa. And there are some programs which are on J1 visa, which are 1 year or a 2 year programs. Okay, these are meant for graduates if they are interested to do some rotations for 1 or 2 years. Mind you, this option is for graduates. This is an unpaid research. You do not get paid anything. You have to take care of your living expenditure. Okay, few hospitals are offering this. Okay, but these are 1 or 2 year programs, so you have to see that much time do you have or not. All right, now let's discuss the program director's expectation. Now the whole reason why we are doing clinical rotation is because we are trying to build our profile for our ultimate residency match. Am I clear? So if that is my perspective, I need to plan things accordingly. So I need to first of all know what my program director is expecting, okay? And only then I will be able to plan things, right? You're talking about expectations. First talk, let me know what is the program director. Good question, Isha. So what happens is in India, when you have a NEET score, okay, you apply to a hospital. Hospital based on your rank of NEET will let you know you are eligible for medicine, for surgery, for OBGY, for radiology, for, let's say, anesthesiology. All right. So everything is dependent on your NEET score. Okay. In the US, residency is like doing a job. You don't pay tuition fee, you get paid a salary. Okay. In India, the decision maker is the central authority or the hospital. So maybe the dean and the team of academics. In America, when you apply for admissions, at the time of application, you apply to a program. So what do I mean by a program? Internal medicine of Mount Sinai Hospital. That's a separate application. So I have to attach a specialty. So surgery of Mount Sinai Hospital is a separate application. So decision maker in case of internal medicine application is HOD of medicine department. So the decision maker for surgery is the HOD of surgery department. So within the same Mount Sinai Hospital in New York, medicine program director and the requirements will be different. Surgery program director and the requirements will be different. So every specialization has a separate program director. In Indian language, we call him as HOD. Program director is nothing but a HOD. So first of all, when you apply for any PG specialization, your clinical rotation has to be minimum 8 to 12 weeks. So somebody who does only 1 month, that is 4 weeks, it is as good as you have not done anything. So people who try to be, penny wise, pound foolish, you know what? Let me at least do 1 month of rotation. It is not useful. It is as good as you haven't done anything. Okay. So guys, ensure either you are doing minimum 8 weeks, maximum 12 weeks during your internship. This is a specific requirement only for electives, not for clerkships. Clerkship does not have an upper limit. You can do 6 months, 12 months, doesn't matter. I am talking about internship. So why am I saying that? I will talk to you very shortly. Second thing, you require letter of recommendation from that particular USCE. Let me show you this example. What happens is, in past, I have known students, they do rotation from some other place, okay, and then they take letter of recommendation from some third person whom they got to know from some contacts. Don't do that. You require LOR from the place where you have done rotations. Guys, please understand this. This is important. LOR has to be from the place where you have done rotations. Okay, please do not arrange LORs from your friends and families. See, I'll show you the example. Can you read this? Clinical experience is a key to success. We require prior experience. We expect letter of recommendation from these experience. Okay, so don't you do rotations in some other place and get letter of recommendation from somebody in America. Don't do that. Observerships do not count. Very important. When I say minimum 8 to 12 weeks of requirement, it does not include observership. So this is a Boston University website. Let's see what does they say. Lot of time people say, oh, I have electives, so can I do rotations? No, you cannot. Observers are not counted. Please be very, very careful. Let me quickly show you. Clerkships or sub internship for at least 8 weeks, minimum 2 months. Am I clear? And they have mentioned it very clearly. Observership status do not meet this requirement. Lot of times students, they graduate in a hurry, they get observership, they use those LORs and try to prove it as a hands-on. Don't do all of these things. I hope this is clear. Yeah, absolutely, Akanksha, you can apply for 3 months electives together in one go, but in different universities. That is what I recommend. You can do it in the same universities also, but usually I recommend to my students to apply in different universities. The logic is very, very simple, that I want to ensure that you have a great experience, you have a great network. Okay. All right. So now let's move ahead. Another point. Minimum 8 to 12 weeks is compulsory. LOR has to be from that rotation. Observerships do not count. 12-week rule. Now, what is 12-week rule? Remember, I told you as an student, you should not spend more than 8 to 12 weeks. You should not do rotations. Remember, I told you that this is applicable only for electives, not for clerkships. The reason is that if you spend, or if you do, let's say there are a lot of exciting, students who are excited. I will do 6 months of electives. I will do 12 months of electives. Well, if you do anything more than 12 months, sorry, of rotation outside your medical school, you are not allowed for rotation residency in New York State. That's a 12-week rule. You can check it out in any of the hospitals in offering the residency. Okay, after graduating, you do as many months as you want. Doesn't matter. Do your clerkships, do your observerships, but electives while you are a student, you should not do it more than 3 months. This is an official New York State Department rule. Okay, applicant who is expected to a graduate should not go outside medical college and do a rotation more than 12 weeks. They have exceptions only for few medical schools. Okay, only if you are from these colleges, you are allowed to exempt, not otherwise. So I think in India, it's only KMC Manipal they have exempted. Rest, no other colleges. So what I'm trying to tell you is, it is more than enough to do 12 weeks, that is 3 months of rotations. Don't worry and don't do outside that. Okay, so 12-week rule is simple. You should not do clinical rotation outside your medical schools more than 3 months. Okay, that's it. That's the requirement. Otherwise, you will not be allowed to do residency in New York State, which selects the highest number of international medical graduates. Lastly, I mentioned that there are some hospitals or some programs which expect DMGs to have a 6-month or a 1-year USC. While majority are happy with this requirement, some want this. So a lot of people, after graduation do a long clerkships. The reason is because there are some hospitals or some universities expect you to be having experience to work in America for about 6 months, 1 year. Okay. So there are such hospitals. According you guys to plan, because 80% do not want that long in experience, but yes, there are 20% who expect this long experience of yours in America. Okay, that's why I'm showing you actual websites of the universities so that you understand what are the program directors expectation. Can you see this? We require 1 year of clinical experience. We do not count observership, research, or externship as clinical experience. So please understand this very, very carefully. Do we need more electives for surgery? No. Quantity doesn't matter, Akanksha. It's the profile which matters. Oh, I do 6 months, then only I'm guaranteed. No. It depends on the overall how heavy or how good the letter of recommendation is, how good your experience is. Quantity will not be the only factor. Of course, more the better, but quantity is not the only factor. All right. So now suddenly I started getting calls from a lot of students that we are getting a call from a very well-renowned company. They have locations in Pune and Hyderabad, and they are saying that we will give you rotation since we are partnered with Caribbean Medical School. Okay, I was surprised that how come a private institution, which is a franchisee of an international company, not an original company, based out of Pune, based out of Hyderabad, claiming these things. So what is the veracity? So I asked for the medical school name. Okay, and they give me one of the Caribbean med school name, and let me tell you the research and what was the issue behind that claim. So what happens is, the way we have MCI in India, say in Caribbean there is an association called as CAM HP. unless a medical college is not approved by CAMHP, they cannot running accredited programs, and on top of it, the hospital which they are offering, they do not have firm tie-ups. They claim they are working with American hospitals, but they do not have firm tie-ups. So the student of mine, he said somebody called from Pune, Hyderabad, and they were saying they will give you a medical college rotation. I said, wonderful. So open your KHP and check from the hospital which they are offering, is that hospital or the rotation or the medical college completely accredited or not. Okay. I told him to check the list, and you won't believe in this list there are such funny colleges, risky, initial provision, accreditation, not accredited, accreditation denied. So these are colleges which sometimes become business. So be very, very. So I asked that student that you got call from Pune, which college what is? She said no, that lady has YouTube channel and she speaks very well. I said forget it. Tell me what happened. Can you see this? This was the institution. No approval, follow-up site required. Happily promoting the franchisees of a very big company, not even a main company, they were promoting such clinical rotation. Again, a claim. Nobody knows whether you will get a seat or not. You have parked your thousands of dollars. Later on, they will say, you know what? We are not sure. So my suggestion is very careful, be very, very careful. Read CAMHP website. If at all some company from Pune, Hyderabad is approaching you for clinical rotation, and if they are placing you in any of such institutions, please check. Open this. This college has been getting 1 year recommendation, then they remove it. One year. Last so many years, there have been lot of complaints available. Can you see this? So what is happening? If the college accreditation itself is not there, how can they guarantee you? What happens is then they will say, oh, you know what? We told you a hospital in Ohio. Now there is no availability. Now you can do something in private clinic in Texas. Be very, very careful. I am telling you, be very, very careful on these things. Second is, of course, the externship agencies. Again, this link, I can send it to you guys. You can check. Individual physicians contacting you on WhatsApp groups. Doctor so and so, doctor so and so. Be very, very careful. Outside exam centers, unfortunately, this you might not be aware of. This only people who go for CS, they are aware. Many a times they are approached by people outside the exam center. I would not want to name the center, I would not want to name the location, but I know of hundreds of my students who have been approached by such scamsters outside the exam center of CS in the US. Okay, do not fall prey to these kind of certificates. These are private clinic physicians, they offer such certificates. Indian students become desperate. Do not fall prey to all of these things. Be careful. In fact, let me send you this link also. Okay, because these are genuine scams, guys. You need to understand, these are genuine scams. Okay, you need to be very, very careful when you are being approached by such people. The last scam, this is nothing to do with rotation, this is to do with accommodation. In past, when people got their rotations, find accommodation in the hospital of their choice, they decide to use Craigslist. This is kind of a list, yellow page directory where online, where people put up their listing, and you can avail product or a service. What happens is, in this particular Craigslist, lot of scamsters realized that vulnerable international medical students approach them. I'm not saying everybody on Craigslist, is not a genuine, provider, but when you are availing accommodation opportunity where they are showing you pictures, they are showing you things, tell them I will the payment only after I visit America. Do not make them payment of accommodation before you reach. Why am I saying that? In past, my students have suffered. Okay, randomly they made payment. When they reached US, there was no person with that name. The person was talking to them on WhatsApp, Facebook, continuously until the date they reached America. So all I'm trying to say you is that unfortunately, a lot of these things are happening. So stay very careful. I hope this entire session is very much clear and gives you a complete clarity of the overall process. Karthik, yes, we will try to do that. All right. Now, coming to your questions. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Vinny. Thank you, everyone, to be part of this session, and hope to see you soon in the future sessions as well. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. I'll end this session now.